Chorus Niagara presents Bernstein's Mass on May 31st. It may be the most ambitious undertaking this season for music director Robert Cooper, the grand finale of this year's lineup. But first, we have to talk about an announcement made at the end of April, the 2024-2025 season, which you will announce sometime in June, will be your final one as you're retiring after 35 years. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I'm never quite sure if I really want to be congratulated because I don't really like the word retirement. I don't think one retires from what I'm doing. It's my life.
Yes.
It's really not a job. It's really more of a calling. I don't want to sound pompous, but it's something that I've done all my life. But you come to the point you realize there comes a time to wrap it up, time for another person to take over the reins. And I thought, well, next year's my 35th anniversary. It's been a great time. We've achieved a great lot with Chorus Niagara, and it's time to maybe pass on the torch.
I don't want to belabor the point because we do want to talk about Bernstein's Mass, but some of the accomplishments, you mentioned the word accomplishment, and you've done a fantastic job of involving youth. That's one of the big accomplishments.
I think there's many different degrees of accomplishment. One is building the organization. It was very small when I came. In fact, it was not even Chorus Niagara. It was the Niagara Symphony Chorus.
That's right.
And so we separated, we branched out to show that the community can actually support two large arts organizations with boards of directors and fundraising and development. We've developed the youth choir programs. I started the children's choir. We have the scholars now in the Side-by High School chorale, the apprentice associate conductor program. So I've tried to build it structurally so it really can stand on solid ground. And I think also we've had some significant musical accomplishments over the year. We've done our Messiahs, but we've done this mountaintop experience of the Missa Solemnis of Beethoven, which is a really bear of a work to do. We've done unusual works by Sir Michael Tippett and Ole Yalo, as well as Mozart and Haydn,
right,
and all the standards and Broadway shows and Gilbert and Sullivan and operetta, you name it. So I think we've covered the gamut to show that there's a wide birth of choral music, and that choral music need not be always considered religious, but it is a wide spectrum of repertoire that appeals to many, many people.
You're talking about wide spectrums, and when we look at a wide spectrum, Bernstein's Mass, that's got to be a wide spectrum in itself.
Can't be any wider. Call me crazy. Bernstein was criticized at the time that it was maybe a mishmash because he was a very eclectic composer. And the interesting thing to me nowadays is that we really celebrate the hybrid. We celebrate somebody who's an eclectic, who is so versatile and pulling so many styles together. We call it mashup almost.
Right.
So really, it's a great source of strength that he was ahead of his time. In fact, there are 3 new recordings of this work out, a work that was done in 1971. People still believe in it, has great relevance, and 3 new recordings in the last 4 or 5 years. So that shows that some people, it's a huge investment to make a big recording.
And it was created to open up the Kennedy Center?
That's right. He was invited by Jacqueline Kennedy to open the 1971 of the Kennedy Center, and he always had in his mind to do some significant religious work. But it's not religious. I would say this is Bernstein's Godspell or Jesus Christ Superstar. It is a piece which has rock, pop, Broadway, dancers, theater. It's a very eclectic piece in every way, and it's very entertaining. And I guess I want to push that idea because when you hear of a work that's called Mass,
that's right,
I think people immediately sort of think, oh, it's going to be something very heavy and
it's a
very
Friday night. Am I going to church on a Friday night?
Exactly. That's only a skeleton on which Bernstein hangs this piece. 5 movements from the Mass. What it really is about young people questioning their place in life. And it's interesting to me, that 1971, you think back, we were there. Nixon was resigning. We had the Watergate issues, you had Vietnam War, and you had student protests.
So much turmoil, so much uproar.
2024, yeah. Student protests, major wars, Middle East, Ukraine, divisive politics. We're still there. We're still arguing the same things. This work could have been written last week. It's still important. It still resonates for so many people. And we've got these 6 wonderful young singing actors that we've auditioned and hired to be the 6 major protagonists against the celebrant. The celebrant is the central personality. He's who's the personifies faith.
Right.
but they are questioning it. What does it mean to me? Why should I care? Why is it important? It doesn't speak to me. How can it speak to me? And this is all enmeshed in pop, rock, dancing, Broadway music, and of course, choral singing. And I'm very excited by it. I've had this score on my shelf for about 20 odd years.
And you've never done this before?
I've never
with
done it.
Niagara or anything?
No one. You know, the last performance that we can find in Canada was in Calgary in the mid-'80s of any significant performance. So here we are in St. Catharines, Niagara region, doing a work that is really one of the seminal works of the 20th century by one of the great musicians of the 20th century, Leonard Bernstein. So I think we should be proud of that. I think also, though, people should take a risk. They should take the opportunity to be provoked, prodded, and I guarantee them they'll still walk away, I think, being very satisfied at the experience and saying, I really enjoyed that, but also it made me think about my life and maybe my kids' lives, what's going on right now around us.
You mentioned the 6 soloists. I know 3 of them are local, Elizabeth Pereira, Joel Levchinsky, and Maddie Cooper.
Maddie Cooper. They're wonderful young artists, as you know, and we've also brought in another 3. A lovely girl named Inez Mugusha, and then Dante Mulin-Santoni, and from the Burlington area, a young man from Sheridan College named Josh Wolf. So we got 6 wonderful young singers.
Who plays the celebrant?
No, the celebrant is actually a professional performer whose name is Nathan Kewen. And Nathan was actually with the symphony in the early fall, and people raved about him. And someone said to me, you should hire this guy. And I said, guess what? We already had him hired before the symphony did. So he is a very fine performer, just coming off a great run with Vancouver Opera. And he's busy rehearsing this work right now. And I'm very excited about next Monday. For a week, we get to work with all the 7 soloists in various places in the Burlington area, so people can drive from both Toronto and Niagara to a central location. And then they'll be primed and ready to go before we meet with the 3 choirs. So in addition to Chorus Niagara, we've got our own children's choir, the Chorus Niagara Children's Choir, and the marvelous choir from Laura Secord High School, their chamber choir, which you're very familiar with.
I'm very familiar with that.
So you're going to have around 140 singers on the stage. And orchestra. And when I say orchestra, I think people think, oh, violins and flutes and oboes. No, it's, a few violins, some brass, guitars, saxophones, unbelievable amount of percussion.
It's going to be incredible.
So it's quite a different kind of auditory, theatrical performance experience that I think people should just come. They shouldn't miss this. It's a real celebration of community and a celebration of life and a celebration of faith.
May 31st at the First Ontario Performing Arts Hall?
Partridge Hall.
Partridge Hall. Robert, thanks so much for telling us more about it.
Thank you for having me.